Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing an item tier list for patch 11.7. A lot has changed since I last did one of these. I think it was a very long time since I last did one. Obviously, 11.7 has introduced several new items that are kind of broken and warping the meta. Stuff has changed a lot, so I decided let's bring out a full item tier list for you guys, let you know what you should and shouldn't be building in the current meta. I've got them all organized in a somewhat sensible manner down here. There's obviously a lot of items in Smite. We're going to be doing them sort of like going from like physical DPS, going through hunters, going through mages, and then going through like physical defense and a magical defense and a mixed defense to round it out. And for the starter items, they'll be having their own tier list at the end of the video. So if you're interested in starter items, I'll try and timestamp it on the timeline bar of the video. We'll be doing starters on their own tier list after the fact, just because I don't think it really makes sense to rank starter items against regular items. They should be ranked against each other in my opinion, because obviously almost every starter item in the game is better than almost every tier 3 item in the game for the most part. That's just how the game is balanced. Starter items are generally just better than regular items are, so they're going to be having their own tier list. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump in with our first item being Transcendence, which I think is a pretty bad item right now. I think I'm going to throw it in C tier. You're only really building Transcendence on picks that absolutely need it, like Ula ADC or Ula mid or whatever. On a lot of ability-based hunters, like you're seeing with Medusa and stuff, you're not building Transcendence. You're not building on junglers either, really. It's just too slow and doesn't really offer enough for you. The item got nerfed a while back, and honestly, it's just really not competitive with a lot of other options that you have at the moment. Heartseeker, we'll throw straight to S tier. This item is incredible, always has been really, but we're in a bit of a tank meta right now. There's a lot of really strong tank items that got introduced in 11.7. Tanks are really good, and therefore you pretty much need a Heartseeker in any ability-based build that you can be going for, any ability-based physical build, obviously. Yeah, pretty much no reason not to have this in any of your ability hunter or ability jungler builds. Hydra Cement we'll throw to A tier. It's a great item. You don't build it on every single jungler or every single ability-based ADC, but on the ones you do build it on, it's absolutely core on them. We'll throw it to A tier. Duality is not great, honestly. I think I'll throw it to B tier. The item itself is not bad. It has decent base stats. It has a really powerful effect. The problem is it's such a massive build-around item. Like, for this to be really good, you really want Bluestone, Heartseeker, and Crusher in one build, and that's Duality as well. So you've got 4 of your items already slotted out in your build there, and you need to fit other stuff in there as well. You know, you need your flat pen like Jotuns, you might want a Fail Knot in there, you might want some more percent pen with like a Titan's Bane or something like that. There's just not really room to fit this item in your build and make it really good. And I think if you're only going like 1 or 2 proc items for this, it just ends up not being that great. So overall, I don't think Duality is that great of an item. Jotun's Rasp will throw to the S tier. Pretty much your go-to rush for any ability-based jungle at the moment. It's just got flat pen, it's got cooldowns, it's got power, it's got everything you would need really. It's got decent glyphs as well. Just a really solid item. This is pretty much always your rush on ability-based junglers. Brawler's Beatstick will throw to A tier. Much like Hydra's, you're not building Brawler's Beatstick every single game, but when you are building it, it's absolutely an incredible item. You should be building this into strong healing, especially from their mid laner. You know, like in the early game, you get your Brawlers online, you can really shut down stuff like Chang'e and Ra from mid. But yeah, if their team has any strong healing components, even if it's just a strong self-sustain on a couple of characters or like lifesteal or whatever, you should be building Brawlers. It's a good item. Titan's Bane will throw to A tier. Titan's Bane is fine. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going this on a lot of your ability-based junglers. I don't think that's where it's good. Junglers generally shouldn't be targeting the tanks, and having a Heartseeker and a little bit of other percent pen in your build from like a Serrated Edge is usually fine. Like Serrated is usually just better than Titan's Bane for a lot of your ability-based junglers. The stats on it are just much better. But Titan's Bane can still be good, especially in a lot of like kin-size hunter builds. Tanks are really strong right now. Kin-size builds for hunters are really strong right now. So if you do want to be going for that, Titan's Bane is also really good just to get your percent pen up in that kind of a build. Crusher is fine. Again, I don't really build this too much on my ability-based junglers, but it's very good for ability-based ADCs. They make good use of that attack speed. Sometimes you might want to build Duality with this item, though honestly, as I said, I don't really recommend building Duality. But yeah, ability-based hunters really benefit from the stat spread of this item super well. I wouldn't necessarily build it on many ability-based assassins, unless maybe they make good use of the attack speed, like Susano, for example. Soul Eater is fine. Soul Eater is a pretty good item right now. It's not something you want on every single jungler, but you also want it on a lot of your ability-based hunters. You know, if you're going for like a Medusa or whatever, she loves this item. Neith probably likes this item as well, but generally not too popular on your ability-based junglers, but you can get away with it on some. I like this on Susano a lot. I like this on Lancelot a lot. Lancelot a lot. Moving on though, we have Bloodforge, which I think is a great item right now. I'm going to throw this to S tier. I think this item is a little bit underrated at the moment. Again, it's not something you could be building every single game. It's not like a Heartseeker or a Jotuns where you just also build build throwing this into every single game. You do have to think a little bit on when you're going to build Bloodforge, but honestly, a lot of the time, if you're getting any kind of consistent kills in team fights, this item is really, really good. The burst meta is back in full force, obviously, from the 11.6 changes. You can nuke people down super quickly and reliably get shields off of this thing, and then you can use that shield to just go in and nuke another guy. This item's really strong right now. Serrated Edge, I will also throw to S tier. We mentioned it a little bit with Titan's Bane. This is what you should be going for your percent pen bomb on your ability-based junglers, not Titan's Bane, in my opinion. The stat spread on it is just way better. It gives you so many free stats. And that's basically what it is. It's a stat stick. It gives you a ton of lifesteal, ton of percent pen, ton of power, a bit of movement speed. It's just a really good item. Equinox, I think I'll throw to the don't build category. It got nerfed pretty hard, and it's really just not that great anymore. It's had a massive fall from grace. You know, this item, when it was originally released, probably would have been in the broken tier, or at least in the S tier. It's now going to be in the don't build tier. It's not good. There are just much better rushes for any of your, like, auto-attack junglers, which we'll get to in a minute, and auto-attack solo laners. There are also just better rushes that actually give you tank stats, so you just don't want to go this item. Shadow Drinker are also throwing don't build. This item's just trash. Sure, the base stats on it are pretty decent-ish, but now that you have Stonecutting Sword, why would you ever want to go Shadow Drinker as your rush? And the effect itself is just terrible. It's so hard to use. Just never really works. Stonecutting Sword, I think I will throw to S tier. You could argue this is A because you're not really building it on like every single jungler in the game. You're only building it on like a handful of picks like Arachne or like Erlangshen or Mercury or whatever. But the thing is, where this item is good, it is insanely good. This thing is 21 flat pen. Jotun's is 10, this is 21. So if you make good use of Stonecutting Sword, you should absolutely be building it right now. It's an insane item. Arendite, I think is really good. I'll throw it to the A tier. I think Arendite is a super good item at the moment. They have buffed it a lot over the years. They're giving it like more stats in general. They're giving it flat movement speed rather than just only getting the movement speed from the passive. I think this item's really good. Again, it's not really something you're going to build on every single character in the game. You're going to want this on the junglers that engage with their ultimate and need the movement speed to follow up. So like Nemesis is a great example of when this item is insane. Moving on though, we have Haste and Vitalis, which I'll throw to the broken tier. It is straight up breaking the game. It can be in no other tier than the broken tier. Obviously, the main reason it's breaking the game so much at the moment is Freya. Freya builds this item every game. Chronos, a lot of the magical ADCs will just want to build this item every game. It's insane on the magical ADCs, but I also think it's really, really good on a lot of the just standard physical hunters like Anher or Hachiman or whatever you want to build it on, really. The item's just broken. The stat spread is really good on it, honestly. You don't get any power, I believe, but you get like health, you get attack speed, you get pen, you get that really powerful passive effect, you get movement speed. The stats on it are really good, and the effect is obviously just completely broken. Griffin Wing Earrings I'll throw to don't build. This is probably going to piss off a lot of people. I know a lot of people do like this item as a rush. I've seen it pop up occasionally in my games. I just don't think it's very good. The stats on it are actually pretty decent. I think the main reason people go it, honestly, is for the stats. The stats on it are quite good, but the effect just doesn't do enough for you, in my opinion. ADC builds, they're very compact. You need the item slots, and using up one of those for Griffin Wing just really isn't going to cut it. You know, if you're going for a kin size build, you need those slots for pen and like lifesteal and stuff like that. If you're a crit build, you need those slots for like lifesteal and your crit items and pen. There's just not really any room to go Griffin Wing Earrings in ADC builds at the moment, I don't think, so I'm going to throw it in the don't build category. Devos, I will throw to... Where am I going to put Devos? I think I'll have to put Devos in the B tier, actually. The reason for that is that I'm going to put Asi in the A tier. Asi is definitely better than Devos right now. It's just so much faster and gives almost the same amount of stats, so you should definitely be building Asi over Devos in your ADC builds at the moment. And that's mainly the reason Devos is in B. You could argue Devos is A, but I don't want to put Asi in S, and I do want Asi one tier above Devos because it is just better at the moment. So we'll throw these two items here. They're both good, but Asi is just better. Crimson Claws, don't build. This item's really bad. There's no reason to build this in your first item lifesteal slot for ADCs over Devos or Asi. Both of these are just light years better than this item. Dominance will throw to the A tier. It's a great item. It's nothing too flashy. It's just going to be a percent pen bomb in a lot of ADC builds. It's great for crit, obviously, because you're not having like any extra effects that aren't basic attacks. It's only basic attack pen on this item, of course. So yeah, great for crit builds, but honestly, pretty good for auto attack kins builds as well. Speaking of kins, we'll throw this to S tier. You could argue this is in broken tier, to be honest, but I think we'll just leave it in the S tier for now. I wouldn't argue it's completely broken, but Kins is really, really good right now. Tank builds are stacking up a lot of health. We have stuff like Shifter Shield giving you 300 health. We have a lot of items that are just giving you a ton of health. Tanks are really strong, so Kin's size is really strong as well. Executioner will throw to A tier as well. Basically, alongside Dominance, these two items are often built together, especially in Kin size builds. In crit builds, you often don't have room to fit both of these, and you usually be going like Dom and Demon Blade or whatever. But Executioner is still really good. It's generally your go-to for Kin's builds because the pen is protection reduction, so it affects the kin size damage as well. So this is generally what you want to be going in your kin size builds. And often you will end up going like Titan's Bane, as I mentioned, with Executioner, because both of those pens will affect the kin size damage. But you can also go Dominance and Executioner if you want. That's also pretty good for your kin size builds. Ikibble, I think I'll also throw to A tier. I think this item is good. You've got to play around it. You've got to be ready to use the aggression that this item offers. You're going to be winning those trades in the late if they go like Assy into Executioner or whatever, and you got Assy into Ikibble. You're definitely going to be winning those trades for a long time. So you got to be ready to use that pressure. You got to be ready to be aggressive with this item. You can even rush it if you want before your lifesteal, which is risky, but can really get you a big lead in the lane if they're not expecting it. Silver Branch Bow, I'll throw in don't build, honestly. I don't think there's any build that really makes Silver Branch really work in the current meta. You just don't really have space for it in your build. It's very hard to get up to that like massive amounts of attack speed to really overcap with this item. Stormseeker, I will also throw to don't build. I think this item's still bad even after the buffs. Again, it's a little bit sort of like Griffin Wing and Silver Branch. Like, they're not terrible items, but you just don't have room for Stormseeker in your build, much like you don't have room for these in your build either. There's just so much other stuff that you need in your ADC builds right now. You know, you've got your starter, you've got your lifesteal, you've got your kins, and then you've got like double % pen or even triple % pen if you want to. Or if you're going crit, you've of course got your at least 2 crit items, maybe 3 crit items. You just don't really have room for these kind of things in your ADC build. Oboe, I will throw to A tier though. I should have mentioned that when I was just talking about right now about kin size builds. You do want Oboe in your kin size builds. Don't build it with crit, obviously, but in your kin size builds, you definitely do want this. And that's another reason why you might want like Executioner and Titans in those kind of builds over Dominance, because this is not going to be basic attack damage. Rage, I will also throw to A tier. This is one of the better crit items in the game, in my opinion, at the moment. It just gives you so much crit. It's insane. Boomerang will throw to C tier. It's basically Rage, but worse, honestly. It's Rage, but you need to stack it up. Yes, it gives slightly more stats overall once you do have it stacked up, but fights are ending so quickly, you're bursting people so quickly right now that you definitely just don't want Rage. You want like those first 3 autos to just kill a squishy rather than having to try and stack up crit chance to potentially risk missing those crits and only landing regular autos. It's just not worth it. This item's pretty bad right now. Rage is just better. Demon Blade goes to A tier as well. Demon Blade should be in basically all of your crit builds. It's just so good. It gives % pen in a crit build, which is often hard to come by because so many of your slots are being taken up by crit items. You don't have room for double % pen a lot of the time. And so what you can do is just go 1% pen item, usually Dominance, and then you can go for Demon Blade as well. And then you've got 30% pen, which isn't amazing, but it's still pretty damn good. And you've got a lot of crit in your build as well that helps with that. Fail Not will throw to A tier as well. Fail Not is super good. Obviously only built on certain picks. You want to be building this on picks that generally sort of like cast their ultimate and then engage with follow-up. And finally, Deathbringer will throw to A tier as well. I don't know, should we throw Deathbringer to S tier? I guess we should, just alongside kin size. Obviously, if you're going for a crit build, you're building Deathbringer. That's just kind of like it. There's not very much more to say about Deathbringer. Moving on though, let's talk about some magical ADC stuff. So Cyclopean Ring, I think, is good right now. A tier for sure. Cyclopean, generally, you can build it on Freya if you want to. It's not amazing on Freya, but on stuff like Chronos that is rising into the meta a lot, on Sol, on Ola run, this item is really good. Demonic Grip will throw to A tier as well. It's basically the Dominance, Executioner, Titan's Bane style equivalent for magical ADCs. You just want this in your magical ADC build every time. There's no question about it. It's really good. Gives you 30% pen. Telkine's Ring will throw to C tier. In fact, you know what? We'll throw it to don't build. There's no reason to build Telkine's Ring. There's so many other good options for magical ADCs at the moment that you want in the early game. You're just going to be rushing something like Ring of Hecate, which we'll talk about in a second, or you're going to be rushing Vitalis or whatever. There's just no room for this in your build. Ring of Hecate will throw to S tier. This item is completely insane right now. It's part of the reason why Freya and Chronos are so strong at the moment. It's just so stat efficient. It's got an Icaval style passive, so it makes your boxing really good. It's got flat pen, it's got attack speed, it's got power, it's just got everything you could need for a magical ADC, and it's a lot of the reason why they're strong right now. Moving on to some regular mage items though, we have Doom Orb up first, which I'll throw to S tier again. This is your go-to rush on basically every mage mid laner at the moment. Doesn't have to stack, so it comes online super early. It has flat pen, has power, has movement speed, has a good passive, has all of this stuff. This is pretty much your go-to rush on any mage mid. Rodder Hootie is good. It'll throw it to A tier. This is absolutely fine. Often slides into your builds in one of the later slots. Just has a bunch of power, has % pen, has useful glyphs. Charon's Coin will throw to A tier as well. Again, it's just a % pen bomb. It's very similar to a lot of these % pen items that you have for like ADC or you have for your junglers. You need a % pen bomb in your build somewhere. Tanks are really strong right now. Generally, I do prefer Shard, which we'll get to in a bit, but Charon's Coin is still really good, especially on those picks that don't do well with Shard. If you know they have tick damage or they're engaging with like a small hit that is followed up by a big hit or whatever, Charon's Coin is really good for that. Chronos Pendant will throw to B tier. Chronos is fine. I don't think it's particularly a terrible item, but the thing is there's usually just better options and you can fill out your cooldown without having to go a Chronos Pendant in your build. But sometimes, especially if you're going for like a Gemma Focus starter and you don't have Pendulum or whatever, you can go Chronos Pendant to fill out your CDR, and I think it's pretty good. Spear of Desolation will throw to A tier. Pretty much your go-to flat pen rush for basically every mage unless you need Divine Ruin, which I'll also throw to A tier. Divine Ruin is still good as well. Spear of the Magus I'll throw to C tier. I don't see anyone building this. I don't build this myself. It's just generally a pretty bad item. Even on the picks where it's really good, I don't think it's that great. Obsidian Shard we'll throw to A tier as well. Just like Charon's Coin, as we mentioned before, Obsidian Shard generally is my preferred one over Charon's Coin on most mages at the moment. But there are some mages that don't use Shard well if they engage with a small hit. For example, you might want Charon's Coin on those. Like Agni is a good example of that, because Agni engages with his ult or his 2 or whatever, but your 1 usually ticks and procs the Obsidian Shard before your ult hits, and so you want Charon's Coin on Agni. And so there are some cases like that where I think you should be going Charon's Coin, but a lot of the time, for standard burst mages, Obsidian Shard is going to be my preferred option, but they're both fine at the moment. Polynomicon, I'll throw to B tier. Generally, it's a pretty good item on very specific niche picks. You might want this on Morrigan, you might want this on Scylla, you probably do want this on Scylla and Morrigan in general, and there's a couple of other picks that can utilize it fairly well. It's obviously good for Chronos as well, but generally, it's a decent-ish item. You can build this. I'm not saying you shouldn't build it, but it's not really that great. Book of Thoth will throw to C tier just because there's no reason to build Book of Thoth over Doomorb right now. Yes, Book of Thoth gives more power in total, but Doomorb comes online so much faster. Book of Thoth only gets his flat pen online once you've fully stacked it. And in the kind of meta we're in right now, it's very fast, it's very snowball focused. You don't want to be spending, 10 minutes stacking up your Book of Thoth until you can get your damage online. When they have a Doomorb and they have their flat pen online already, they have the power online already, they have the useful passive online, they're just going to out-trade you so massively and out-damage you so massively in the early game. You just want to be going Doomorb, you don't want to be going Book of Thoth right now. Tablet of Destinies, for a similar reason, will go to C tier. This item, it can be good on certain niche picks, but you want to be building it with Book of Thoth, so you're already kind of hamstringing yourself by having to build Book of Thoth to build this item. And again, it suffers similar things to Book of Thoth, but even worse. It's just so slow to get online, and someone that's just going to rush Doomorb is just going to outperform you for like the first 15-20 minutes of the game if you're going for this Book of Thoth tablet build. It's just too slow. Soul Reaver will throw to S tier. Much like Kin Size, tanks are super strong right now, and much like Heartseeker as well. Tanks are good. You're going to need a Reaver in your build. You've needed a Reaver in your build, but basically all of time in Smite. It's just a really good item. But it is especially good right now with tank builds being so strong. So yeah, definitely be building Reaver. Staff of Murdin will also throw to S tier. It's a little bit niche, but it's not as niche as you'd think. There are some picks that just straight up don't use this item very well, and you shouldn't be building it on them, but there are like a lot of picks. At least like half of mages can use this item pretty well. The passive did get nerfed, but also the base stats on this item are just so cozy. Like you get power, you get percent pen, and you get cooldown all on one item. There aren't many items in the game that can boast that, having percent pen and cooldown. It's a bit like Fail Not. So yeah, Staff of Murdin's still super good. The base stats are still really good, and the passive, a lot of mages can utilize it at the moment. Moving on to some lifesteal options, we have Pythax Piece, which I think is C tier. I don't think there's any reason to build this item. It's just not very good. Bancroft's Talon is an interesting one. I would normally throw Bancroft's to C tier, but the thing is, it has actually popped up in a little bit of a niche in some magical ADC builds. Freya's been building it a little bit. Chronos likes it as well. And so maybe I'll throw it to B tier for the single reason that the attack speed glyph is kind of carrying this item, and it's being slotted into some magical ADC builds. Don't build this on any of your mage mids. It's terrible, but maybe you might want this on some magical ADC builds with the attack speed glyph. Typhons I'll throw to A tier alongside the other big percent pen bomb options for mages. Generally, you're not building this on your mid mages again, because you're not going to be like rushing a lifesteal or whatever, but this is really good for your magical ADC builds. Freya wants this in basically every build alongside Demonic Grip for the full percent pen. Chronos is going to want this in basically every build as well. A lot of your magical ADCs are going to want Typhons. Soul Gem, I think I'll throw to B tier as well. It's a bit similar to Polynomicon. There are only certain picks that really utilize Soul Gem super well, and honestly, I don't think it's that great right now as an item. It just doesn't provide you enough when there are so many other items you could be going in your mage builds, but on certain picks, it can be kind of good. Actually, you know what? Now that I've said that, I'm going to move it down to C tier. It's similar to Polynomicon in its nicheness, but I think it's just a worse item. Like, Polynomicon on the picks that it's good on, you really want it, whereas, like, Soul Gem on the picks that it's good on, you could honestly skip it and you'd be fine. Sphinx Baubles, I think I'll throw to Don't Build, honestly. I don't think there's any reason to really go Sphinx Baubles unless you're going for a funny meme build. I think if you're trying to get a competitive build, if you're playing ranked or whatever, I don't think there's any reason to build Sphinx Bauble. You just sacrifice so much to get this item online. It's insanely expensive, insanely slow. You need to craft your build around making sure that you can get 40% CDR without this item, which is a little bit difficult sometimes. I think it can work. Absolutely, it can work, but I just don't think there's any reason to build it if you're going for like a competitive build. There's just so many other things that you'll want in your build and not this. Warlock Staff. So this is an interesting one. I think I'm going to throw it to at least A tier. There's an argument for this item being S tier in my opinion after the buff. I think it is really good. With the health changes, of course, this item giving like, I don't know how much health it gives at the moment. Actually, maybe I should look it up for this video. Yeah, this item is giving 500 health, which with the amount of health reduction that we had in 11.6, 500 health is just like such a massive increase to your survivability. Like squishies in general right now have like 1800 to 2000 health around that number. So adding 500 to that is such a massive percent increase to your health. And it actually makes you survive a lot more. And the base stats on the item are pretty good. It's very slow, obviously. As I talked about with Book of Thoth, this item is very slow slow to get online. The difference is Warlocks at least provides something different than Doom Orb. Like, Book of Thoth is just a direct competitor to Doom Orb. It just has very high power and very high flat pen. Whereas Warlocks does offer something different. Generally, it's not going to be as good as Doom Orb. I do think Doom Orb is still better. That's the reason it's one tier below Doom Orb. But I think this item does have a lot of potential. And if you do want to survive a little bit more in those late game team fights, 500 health is nothing to scoff at on this item. Alright, let's zoom out a little bit. We're getting a lot of items on this tier list already. Ethereal Staff, I think I'll throw to A tier as well. I think after the buffs, this item is really good. Generally, I don't think you're building it on your mid mages. I think you have better stuff that you want to be throwing in there for damage. But I think on any of your Guardian solos, you know, if you're going Artio, if you're going Cthulhu or whatever, Cerberus maybe, you probably want this item on your Guardian solos. And also, I think on some of your more aggressive supports, it's not that bad of an item as well. Of course, it did get nerfed by the 11.6 changes, but they've kind of buffed it up now, probably past where it was in the 11.5 and prior, you know, in terms of relative strength, because obviously everyone has less health, so Ethereal Staff is less strong, but they buffed it up so much that I think it's probably stronger than it was even before the 11.6 changes. And so even on some of your more aggressive supports like Bacchus, you might want this item as well. But yeah, obviously on your Guardian solos, I think this is probably a must build, honestly. I think this item's really good at the moment. Gem of Isolation, I'll throw to B tier. This item has like some very small niches, like for example on Frostalis Poseidon. If you watch my second channel, you'll see me be dominating with that. It's very funny. But overall, I don't think the item's super good. It's extremely niche. Last Gasp, I'll throw to B tier as well. Again, it's very niche, but can be good on some picks. I think this item is a little bit underrated right now. Like, Ishel is very meta, and I'm not seeing people build this item much on Ishel. You absolutely should be. This item is super good on her. The stats on it are incredible. It can get to well over 100 power pretty easily, and it has 15 flat pen on it as well, much like Spirit of Desolation. So I think this item is good right now. It's obviously very, very niche. You probably only want it on like Ishel, Ra, maybe Changa. It's a bit niche, but I think on the picks that it's good, it is really good. Rejuvenating Heart is bad, don't build it. Rod of Asclepius is bad, don't build it. Sovereignty, we'll throw to A tier. Sovereignty is a fine item right now. I don't have any problems with it. It's been decent in support for the longest time. Still good. Emperor's Armor, I think I'll throw to... Where do I want to put Emperor's Armor, man? This is a tough decision. In theory, this item should be pretty good right now because the meta is so, like, snowball focused, and you can kind of buy this to either snowball your team further into a victory or kind of stop the enemy team's push. Like, on paper, this item should be really good, but honestly, I don't see anyone build it. I've tried it myself, like, once or twice, and it's never really felt that good. So, honestly, yeah, I think I'll have to drop this thing in C tier. I don't think it's really worth building, honestly. Mid-Guardian Mail, I think, is not really great right now, honestly. I'll probably throw it to the B tier. We'll talk about it later, but there is obviously a way better option for countering auto attackers at the moment than Mid-Guardian Males, and generally you're not going to be wanting to build both of these unless you're really hardcore getting wrecked by like a double auto attacker team or something like that. And so in general, if you want to build an anti-auto attacker item, you're just going to be going Demian. You're not going to be going Mid-Guardian Male, so I don't think it's that great right now. Mystical Male we'll throw to... Where do I want to put Mystical? I think I'll throw it to B tier because it is good. It's sort of a bit like Polynomicon in that, like, yes, it has some niches where it is really good, but generally it's not going to be built on, like, every single pick. Some solo laners do like this. Even the occasional support likes this. But generally, I don't think Mystical Mail is, like, super good right now. Breastplate of Valor will throw it to A tier. I think Breastplate is fine. Generally, you're not building this on a lot of your warriors. They generally have better options to go, which we'll talk about in a bit. But on your Guardian solos, Breastplate Rush is extremely good right now. Breastplate of Regrowth. Honestly, I don't find this item to be super good at the moment. It should be on paper, but I just really don't find it to be that good. I think I'll throw it to the B tier. Contagion definitely goes to A tier in my opinion. I don't think it's quite worthy of an S tier, but when they added, they changed that it's no longer got mana and MP5, it's got health and HP5, this item is just so much more stat efficient now. And I think in the matchups where this counters a CC and the healing, like it's a Horus or whatever, this item is a must build rush first item, no question. In the matchups where you're only countering CC or you're only countering healing, it's like maybe you might want this, but maybe not as a rush. I think Contagion is just super good right now. The base stats on it are incredible. If you are countering both aspects of this item onto someone, definitely a must build. Spectral Armor, I'll throw to A tier. Crit is fairly popular among hunters at the moment, so Spectral Armor, you obviously want that if they're going crit. It's an insane item in that situation, but obviously you don't want this every single game. Glad Shield, we'll throw to A tier. It's a great item, obviously. You're going to want this on a lot of your solo laners. It's obviously going to be abused most by like Cuchulainn and King Arthur, but even stuff like Milan, just general solo laners can make really great use of this. Void Shield, I think is a good item as well right now. It's kind of hard to fit in your build because solo laners have a lot of stuff that they want in their build right now, but if you can fit this in, I think it is a good item. Berserker Shield is good right now as well. Auto attack solo laners have fallen out of the meta a lot, but I think if you are going to be going an auto attack solo laner, you do still want this item. It is really good. Phalanx I'll throw to B tier because it's just a worse version of Berserker Shield at the moment. There's no reason to build Phalanx over Berserkers in my opinion. Genji's Guard is fine. I guess I'll throw it to B tier. I don't think it's really that good of an item. You never really feel good like rushing Genji's Guard in lane, honestly. Domaru, I think I'll throw to A tier though. Damaru is really good on certain picks. A lot of your Guardian solos like Cthulhu or Cerberus or whatever, they absolutely love having a Damaru. Oni Hunters I'll throw to A tier as well. I think this is one of my go-to like late game magical defense options. Generally, you're not going to want to rush it in lane because you're not getting as much value from the passive, but if you've been against a physical laner and you want a little bit of magical defense for the late game and you don't want to go like a hardwall glyph, for example, I think Oni Hunters is definitely one of the better options. Shoguns I'll throw to A tier as well. Shoguns must build on your auto attack solo laners, and generally you can build this in support as well sometimes if you have like a heavy auto attacker team. If you have like an ADC and a Mercury or like a Medusa mid and a Freya and ADC or whatever, you're definitely going to want a Shoguns. Zoom out a little bit further. Dude, there's so many items in this game. Pestilence, I think I'll throw it to B tier. I don't think Pestilence is that great right now. Yes, you should probably still be building this, especially on your supports if you're playing into a lot of healing from the enemy team, but there are generally better anti-heal options than Pestilence. Contagion comes to mind, Brawlers and Divine come to mind. Talisman, I've seen a lot of people loving this item. I really don't think it's that good. I'll throw it to the B tier. I think there's just a lot better options for your magical defense. Absolution, I'll throw it to B tier as well. It's extremely niche, this item. Like, you need it on a support that can quickly cast their ultimate, get good value from it in any situation, and they need to have something where mass CC immunity is very useful. So like, for example, this on Terra playing into Ares, it's incredible, but a lot of the time you're just not going to want to build this item. Heartward will throw to A tier alongside Sovereignty. I think it's still good. Sovereignty, you're generally going to be building a little more than Heartward because physical protections are more valuable than magical protections, but also Heartward has a niche in solo, as like if you're rushing triple physical defense, you can buy Heartward Glyph and it gives like 120 magical procs in one item, and it's really good there as well. Fabulous Hoops, I don't see anyone building this. Maybe it's because healer supports aren't very good at the moment. You know, you're not really seeing a whole lot of your Mage. You're not seeing any like healer supports like Hell or Aphrodite at the moment, so maybe that's the reason it's not getting built, but I really don't feel like this item's very good at the moment. We'll throw it to B tier. Shield of the Phoenix, I think, will be our next broken item. This item is just absolutely incredible. It's warping the solo meta a little bit. Obviously, we've seen King Arthur rise to be the most dominant solo laner in existence. Cullen's really good with this item. It's even given Arceus a pretty viable niche in solo when she wasn't really viable before. You could argue for this item only being S tier, in my opinion. I don't think it's like completely breaking the entire game, but it is breaking the solo meta a little bit. Like, I think by the time you get to team fights, this item isn't completely broken, but for the laning phase, it kind of is, and it's warping the solo meta a little bit. It's obviously a really strong item. It's at minimum S tier, but in my opinion, it probably deserves a broken tier. Next up is Shifted Shield, though, which is warping the entire game. Shifted Shield is probably the best item in the game right now. Even better than Fatalis, in my opinion, because of how ridiculously applicable this item is. Like, at least with Fatalis, you're only building this on your ADCs, and even then, you're not building it on every single ADC, because you might have some ability-based ADCs that don't want it, for example. Shifted Shield, you're building this on every solo laner, every support, maybe your junglers a lot of the time, and I've even seen some people in mid and ADC picking up Shifted Shield. This item is just completely stupid right now. I don't know how they looked at these stats on paper and didn't think this item's going to be completely broken. I'm guessing they did realize that, and they were just like, fuck it, Smite 1's dying anyway, let's just put this item in there, fuck it, it's just going to be funny. But yeah, this item is just obviously overstyled. 300 health and 50 of each prots is just way better than basically every tank item in the game, and it doesn't require stacking. Like, this thing is better than Thebes and doesn't require stacking. That's kind of insane. Thebes is already like premium in terms of like tank stats efficiency, and then of course it can give you a little bit of power as well. Obviously, if you're above 75% health, you can get a bit of power, which is nice for aggression. If you like building this first item on like back of support or whatever, it could be really good there. This item's just broken. It's a must build in 2 roles, and it's viable in jungle, and maybe even you could argue fringe viable in mid and ADC. I've seen some people do that. I don't think it's really good there, but the fact that this is dominating 2 roles and viable in another, this item's just insane. Height of the Nemean Lion will throw to S tier. I don't think this thing's quite broken. I don't think it's completely breaking the game in the way that a lot of these other broken tier items are, but this is a really good item. We talked about it with Megardian Mail before. There's not really any reason to build Megardian Mail when you have Nemean available, and I think you would only build Megardian if like the enemy team had like triple auto attacker or like 2 auto attackers that are really dominating, and you kind of want both of these. But yeah, Nemean is your go-to if the ADC is giving you problems, which they probably are in the current meta. ADC is super strong with Haste and Fatalis, then you're definitely going to want Nemean. In that case, Nemean is super good. And Chile, I think I'll throw to B tier, and Chile is not really that great. I think the base stats on it and the fact that it gives power when the passive's on cooldown is quite nice, but of course it's very niche. I think this item is super good in certain matchups. You know, if you're trying to cancel out like tick damage channeled abilities that don't have CC immunity, or if you're trying to cancel out combos like Scylla's combo if she combos you in close range, I think the item can be really good, but it's just too niche for me to put it in any higher tiers in my opinion. Moving on, we have Dawnbringer, which I'll throw to B tier as well. I don't think Dawnbringer's that great. In theory, this item could be really good. The problem is it's got like rush base stats, but it's not got a rush passive effect. That's kind of like the weird thing with this item. Like, the passive effect scales off of your protections, but you're not going to have a lot of protections if you want to rush this item, but the base stats of like HP 5, health, and power makes it so you want to rush this item in solo, but you can't really do that. So it's just got a really weird application, and in the late game, you're generally not wanting this either. You're wanting better stuff in your tank builds. Blackthorn, I think I'll throw to A tier. I think Blackthorn's still kind of viable, but the thing is, there's just a lot of better options. You could even argue Blackthorn falls down to B tier, but I think just on the facts of the nerf, I think the item is still pretty good. But the thing is, not only did it get nerfed, a lot of other options came out of the woodwork. You know, you've got like Shield of the Phoenix and Shift of Shield as rushes that you would just much rather do over Blackthorn. So in practice, the item arguably could be B tier. I don't think there's really much reason to build Blackthorn Hammer anymore, but it is still a decent item in my opinion. Frostbound will throw to A tier. I think this item is a little bit underrated at the moment. Obviously, auto attack soul laners aren't very good right now, so you're not going to be building this like a ton. But I think if you are going for an auto attack soul laner, you definitely want Frostbound in your build. The change where they made it basically permanent uptime now is really strong. Runeforge will throw to B tier. Runeforge isn't that great right now. You're not going to be rushing it in solo really, and I guess you could maybe go in like late game in solo builds, or maybe early game in like jungler builds, or like Horus could rush this in support or something like that. It's got a couple of niches where it can be kind of okay, but honestly, Runeforge isn't great. Vital Amplifier will throw to B tier as well. Again, it has some very small niche cases like Amaterasu and Arachne, but really, you're not building this item much. Cad Club, again, will throw to B tier. Honestly, Cad Club might go to C tier. I think even on a lot of like really good users of this item, like Guan Yu, you're still probably not going to build it. Sekhmets will throw to C tier as well. It's a fun meme item for like massive cooldown reduction builds, but generally not very good of an item overall. Stone of Binding will throw to S tier. Stone of Binding is and always has been an incredible tank item. The fact that it's a tank item that also has flat pen is just like unheard of, really. It's super good. And of course, this item only got better with the 11.6 changes, reducing everyone's procs. Archdruid's Fury will also throw to S tier. I think this is one of the premium damage options for solo laners at the moment. It's a tank item that gives you pretty high damage output as well, a bit like Glad Shield, but better in my opinion, more applicable. Abyssal Stone, I'll throw to A tier. I think Abyssal Stone is good. It's hard to tell how much this item is doing for you, and I haven't really seen any like direct comparisons of like someone trying, for example, 5 games of the same pick with the same build, but just changing out one item for Abyssal Stone and seeing how it performs. I feel like someone needs to do that, and I can't be bothered doing it. But I feel like in theory, like on paper, this item is really good. It'd be interesting to see, you know, it's a shame we don't have a pro league, because we'd probably be seeing if the pros are building it or not, and I can make my decision on that. But then again, I guess this item came out when we did have a pro league and no one built it, but it has been a little bit buffed over the years. They're giving it like some more magical procs, I think. So I don't know, in theory, on paper, this item was really good. In practice, I don't see many people building it, but I feel like it could be a bit of a sleeper hidden gem, so I'm going to throw it to A tier. Erosion, we'll throw it to B tier. This is decent in situations where you do need to counter shields, obviously, but generally shields aren't like so prevalent that you're going to be needing to build erosion in many of your games. Manticore Spikes will throw it to A tier as well. Actually, you know what? No, we'll throw Manticore Spikes to B tier. I do feel like there are better options to amp up your damage on solo laners at the moment. Like, there's no reason to build Manticore Spikes over Archdruids, in my opinion. It's just so much more applicable. Mail of Renewal will throw to A tier. I think Mail of Renewal is going a little underrated right now. I do think this item is quite good. Stone of Gaia will throw to C tier. Gaia's just trash. There's no real reason to build it. It doesn't come with any pros. It's just a sad item, to be honest. Gauntlet of Thebes obviously goes to S tier. This is premium. You all know Thebes. It's just insanely efficient. The fact that Shift of Shield is better than this item is kind of crazy, because this item is still ridiculously stat efficient. Cannoneer's Curious. So where am I going to put this one, dude? What are we going to do with you, Cannoneer's Curious? What are we going to do with you? This item, in theory, should be so good, man. It's gold generation. It's absolutely ridiculously cheap. It's like tier 2 item price almost. They buffed it in the recent patch as well. Like, in theory, this item is so good. It's just I never see it get used. And I feel like I can't just put it in one of the middle tiers and say maybe it's good. I feel like I have to make a call on this. You know what, dude? I'm going to make the call. I'm going to throw this thing to S tier. I think Cannoneer's Curious is good. It just has to be, right? Like, they buffed it so much. It's gold generation, which is super powerful. Like, I feel like this item has to be good. I'm going to leave it in S tier for now. I'll leave your guys' thoughts on whether you think this item is good down below. I'm very interested. Relic Dagger is good. We'll throw Relic Dagger to A tier. I think this is good on a lot of your supports that want those powerful teamfight relics to have a lower cooldown. Lotus Sickle is fine. We'll throw it to B tier. I think this item is pretty good, but it's just very niche. You know, maybe you want this on like Terra and your Moja and stuff, but generally it's not going to be built on a lot of your supports. Wingblade will throw it to B tier as well. It does have some specific niches in countering like Horrific Emblem or countering some very strong like AoE slows from the enemy team, but generally you're not going to be building it a whole lot. Magi will throw it to A tier. I think Magi is pretty decent right now. The burst meta is prevalent, and there are a lot of gods that can just one-shot you off of a single CC, and if you're sort of in a specific situation where you are getting hit by a specific CC over and over that's killing you and they're not going to be able to just like ping it off from range with passable CC. I think this item can be pretty good. Prophetic we'll throw to S tier. Prophetic is obviously really good. You can build this on a lot of your supports. Not every single support. Some supports don't have a reliable way to stack it, but a lot of supports can build this first item. And even the occasional soul laner can get away with doing this if it feels like it's going to be a slow game. If you can stack it very easily, like Osiris, for example, just throwing his one on people as he runs past, this item can be good on some soul laners as well. And Mantle of Discord and Spirit Robe, I think, also go to S tier. I think these items are just really good as well. They're mixed defense, which is super valuable. They have cooldown reduction, which has become a little bit harder to come by over the years. They both have very useful effects in terms of if you're just trying to get like bursted down by the enemy team. If you try to not do that, sorry, you want these items. You could argue for these being A tier, like they're not that insane compared to a lot of the other items that are up here. You know what? You know, maybe that's right. Maybe that's right. Maybe they do deserve to be an A tier, but I think they will be at the top of A tier for me. These items are really good. Pribwin we will throw to S tier though. I think Pribwin is super good. You can build it on some soul laners, but a lot of the time you're going to be seeing Pribwin built on supports for them to get their CDR up. Generally, support builds, CDR is a lot harder to come by than it is in soul laner builds. You might have your prophetic or whatever that's 10%, but a lot of the time you're sort of struggling to find CDR in support builds, and Pribwin just completely solves that for you. But yeah, there you go. That is the full regular item tier list. We'll zoom out to get it all on screen there. So we've got like these three items, absolute best in the game. If I was going to order these, it would probably be like this. But generally, the list isn't ordered. But yeah, I would order those three just because it's easier to do that. Shift the Shield, absolutely the best item in the game. And then yeah, a few down here that just not worth building. Honestly, I would say the C tier items aren't worth building either. I won't recommend building the C tier items either. But the don't build items are just straight up you're trolling if you're building these. I don't think you should build them at all. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully that's been handy for you. If you don't care about the starter items, you can leave now. But we're going to move on to the starter items next. All right, and there we go. We can obviously zoom back in for this one. There's not going to be as many starter items as there are regular items. I just feel like ranking these individually is a much better way of doing it because you can't rank these against the regular items. I can put them on the same tier list, but it just gets a little bit messy. And I feel like it's a better way of presenting it if I have these on their own tier list, so you can rank the starter items against each other because you're not considering a starter item against a regular item because they're not the same. First up, we have Sigil of the Old Guard. This is definitely S tier. This item is incredible. It's one of the best starter items in the game. Honestly, I don't know if I'll have any starter items in the broken tier. Honestly, I might just remove it. I don't think there are going to be any like super broken items in the starter item category. So yeah, this is definitely one of the best starter items in the game. The mitigations are insane. It's a little bit slow to get online, of course, so you don't get a lot of like damage from it in the early game for like your lane clear or whatever, going regular Sigil, but this item is insane. Infused Sigil I'll put in A tier. The base stats on it are still incredible. It's still a really good item, but I think it is a little bit worse than Sigil of the Old Guard in most cases, but it is a lot of fun. Bumba's Hammer and Spear, I think I'll throw both of these to A tier. I think they're generally the go-to what you're going to be going on a lot of your junglers as your starter item. Bumba's Dagger is generally the best like tier 1 starter, so you're very happy going that. And of course you're building Spear on gods that don't use Bumba's Hammer very well, so if you are a Bumba's Hammer user like Thor or Susanoo or whatever, you'll go Bumba's Hammer. If not, you go Bumba's Spear. Bluestone and Redstone, I think Bluestone goes to S tier. This item's incredible. It's obviously really good on like your ability-based ADCs that can just throw out poke and just get insane amounts of damage from Bluestone, like Ula, AMC, Medusa. And of course it's really good on your soul laners. Obviously King Arthur right now abusing this item to high heaven, but it's really good on a lot of other soul laners as well. Redstone I'll throw to A tier. I think much like Infused Sigil, Redstone is still really good. I think this item is super good, especially on certain niche picks. Like Mulan really likes this because she has the attack speed synergy. But I think in general it is generally a worse option than Bluestone Brooch. Ornate Arrow is really good. We'll throw this to A tier. It is very slow, and that's unfortunate in the current meta because games are ending a lot faster than they have been in the past, so it takes a little while to get this online. Obviously, you have to hit level 20, and then you have to hit full build, and you also have to have 2,000 gold in hand, which delays your power potions and stuff, but the amount of stats this item gives for a crit build is absolutely incredible. It's still really good. Diamond Arrow, I think I'm honestly going to throw to don't build. I don't think there's any reason to build this. Magical ADCs is maybe like kind of an application where you might want this, but the thing is a lot of magical ADCs just go Gem of Focus, or they'll go like even Bumper Spear we've been seeing on ADCs, like a Freya and stuff like that, so I think in general there's just not really any reason to build Diamond Arrow. Heroism, I'll throw to B tier. I think Heroism is fine. It's a very average starter item in my opinion. It can be really good. That shield can absolutely save people in the late game, but I think Compassion is generally just a better upgrade if you're going to be going for this starter. Yes, the shield can save people, but I think overall you're going to be getting more value out of the straight up 12% damage reduction aura from Compassion. It's just going to be a lot better for you. Pendulum will throw to S tier. It's generally the go-to for a lot of mid-mages. Gets your CDR online. Just a general big stat bomb. It's really good. The tier 1's good as well. Alternate Timeline, I'll throw to B tier in my opinion. Alternate Timeline, it can be good in certain situations, you know, especially if you feel like team fights are coming up and you feel like you can maybe end the game off of one team fight. You could just buy Alternate Timeline, make a ridiculously risky play and win the game off of it. And then it also has a niche on like unsafe mid laners that might be getting picked a lot. You might want to go this instead of Pendulum. It's kind of like you're not going to start the game wanting to go Alternate Timeline most of the time, but sometimes the game is just right for it. and it does have a niche. Archmage's Gem, don't build. This item's garbage. If you're going to be going for like Archmage's Gem as like a damage starter item for mid lane, just go Pendulum. It's going to be much better for you. Gem of Focus is S tier. Gem of Focus is absolutely incredible right now. It's great on some mid laners. Obviously, Giannis loves this. Changa loves this. But then it's also good on a lot of Guardian solos. If you want to go Conduit Gem for the early clear on Guardian solos, obviously you're going this and not Archmage's Gem. It's even good on some magical ADCs. Kronos absolutely loves this item. Freya loves this item as well. Just absolutely incredible. The utility that this item gives is absolutely great. It's viable in like 3 different roles. Both tainted items I think I'll throw to A tier. They are a bit niche obviously, but I think these items are incredible if you're facing good healing. Generally you're not going to go these if you're facing healing from like mid or healing from support or whatever. Generally you're just going to be better off like buying Divine and Brawlers on your mid and jungle, and then maybe going for like a Pestilence or a Contagion in the late game or something like that. But if you're facing a laner with strong healing and the team has healing in general, then these items are going to be really good. They're super stat efficient. Sundering Axe I think I'll throw to A tier. Sundering Axe is good at the moment. They did nerf Warrior's Axe, which is unfortunate. It does make this item quite a lot worse, and generally I feel like if you're not going Bluestone, I would go Sigil over Axe at the moment, but I do think Sundering Axe is still a pretty good upgrade overall. And Axe of Animosity I'll also throw in the A tier. Generally auto attack solo laners aren't great right now, but if you are building an auto attack solo laner, you obviously want Axe of Animosity. It's still pretty good. War Banner is great right now. I think I'll throw War Banner to A tier. If you want to go for your more aggressive supports, want to get that lane aggression for War Flag, this is the go-to. Spartan Flag will throw it to C tier. I don't think this is very good at all. I have seen some people building it now, which is why I'm not going to put it in the don't build category. I have seen some high level players actually trying to go Spartan Flag. I don't agree with it, but I have seen some people doing it, and therefore I'm not going to put it in the completely don't build category because maybe they know something I don't. So we'll throw it to C tier for now. But honestly, the effect is just so hard to use. The flag that comes down, like often the team fight moves out of that area and you're just not getting a lot of benefit from it, and you'd be much better off just going War Banner. Sack Shroud I'll throw to C tier. It does have some niche uses. Hades likes it, Anubis likes it. There are some picks that do kind of like this item, but overall I don't think it's that great. Bloodsoaked Shroud I'll throw to B tier as well. Bloodsoaked is okay. I feel like it does have some kind of value on some Guardian solos. RTO likes this obviously. Cthulhu can kind of get away with building this as well, though I think in general with Cthulhu you're better off going Sigil or Gem. And that's kind of the thing with this item. It is good, but honestly a lot of the time you're building this, you could just go Sigil or Gem and you might honestly be better off. And on Mage mids you obviously don't want this item. It's only for Guardian solos really. Seer of the Jungle, if I'm being honest, don't build this. In super high level, if you're like a Masters or higher player, you might want to build this. It might be like a B or A tier item, but for the vast majority of people, you're not going to want this item. You're not going to get a lot of use out of it. You're much better off just going for something better, like Protector of the Jungle, for example, which is just going to give you much more stats in the jungle. I think it's an A tier starter. I think it's pretty much on par with the Bombers. And it's especially good if you're planning to go a little bit of Bruiser. It stacks up really well if you're going like a Shifter Shield in your build as well, or if you're going like Erlang or whatever. If you're going to be going a little bit more Bruiser, or you're playing a Warrior in the jungle, I think this is really good because the protections really synergize well and make you super tanky. Sentinel's Boon, I'll throw to the C tier. Again, I'm not going to put this in don't build because it's similar to Spartan Flag. I have seen some high level players building this item, but in general, I just don't think it's that great in Conquest specifically. Obviously, if you're playing Assault, build this item every day. It's fucking broken at Assault, but in Conquest in general, I won't build this. You're much better off going Sentinel's Embrace, which I'll throw to A tier as well. Support starters at the moment are really take your pick, honestly. Obviously, if you're playing Ares, you want Sentinel's Embrace for the free power, but in general, on most supports, it's kind of like pick what you want for support starters. I think they're very well balanced right now. All 3 of these items here, I can't get them to line up. These 3 here, the Compassion, War Banner, and Sentinel's Embrace, I think all 3 of these are perfectly viable right now, and it kind of depends on your playstyle and what you want. You can build any of these. Leader's Cowl and Hunter's Cowl. Leader's Cowl is better, so I'll throw it to B tier, and I'll throw Hunter's Cowl to C tier. You're generally just not building these over Death's Toll at the moment in the ADC role, so I guess we'll talk about those now. I think Death's Temper is A tier, and I think Death's Embrace is, I don't know, probably C tier, honestly. You don't really want to be building Death's Embrace. I don't think it's very good, but Death's Temper is generally sort of the go-to default starter if you're not going crit. Even if you are going crit, I think Death's Temper can be good because it's 35% basic attack damage increase stacks with crit, and you end up getting 70%, which is kind of insane. But also, if you are going crit, you might want to be going on arrow and stuff like that, so it does have competition. But if you're not going crit, generally what I'm seeing from a lot of ADCs right now is you're just going Death's Temper. And so that's the main reason both the Cowls are so low down. Leader's Cowl is still really good. Arguably, Leader's Cowl could be up here. Yeah, you know what, screw it. I'll throw Leader's Cowl up here. Generally, I do think Death's Temper is better though, and I'm seeing that built a lot more than Leader's Cowl, but Leader's Cowl is an option if you don't want to go Death's Toll. Lono's Mask, I think I'll throw to B tier. Similar to a lot of these other ones like Bloodsoaked Shroud and like Alternate Timeline, I think it does have a niche where it's viable. They did buff the tier 1 to give you a little bit more potions in the early game, so you're a little bit more survivable. The problem is just a lot of Lono's Mask users aren't viable right now. You know, you're not really seeing any E-sets, you're not really seeing any Noxes, you're not really seeing any like Fenrias or Serkets in support or Nachars or anything. Like, the problem is the picks aren't good right now. I think the item is good, it's just the picks aren't good right now, so generally you're not going to be seeing it a lot. Rangers Mask, don't build, unless you want to do some funny trolling stuff. Ranked is still terrible. And finally, we have the mannequins. Hidden Blade, I would say don't build either. Hidden Blade, again, it can be a really fun item. I think a lot of the ones down here, like Archmages, is super fun. Ranked is super fun. Hidden Blade is super fun. They're a lot of fun to play with, but if you're actually trying to win games and you're actually playing competitively, I won't build them. Mannequin Mace, though, I think I'll throw to A tier. I think Mannequin Mace on the picks that it's good on is actually quite competitive. We've seen some ADCs even picking this up a little bit, which I think is decent. But also on a lot of your auto-attack junglers, Arachne wants this. Erlang can build this, in my opinion. Erlang can get away with a lot. Erlang can build, like, Bombers if he wanted to. He could also build Protector of the Jungle, and then he could also build Mannequin Mace. Erlang's very flexible, mainly because he's the best god in the game right now, or one of the best gods in the game right now. But yeah, I do think Mannequin Mace is absolutely viable. I think it's good. It's got a lot of buffs over the years. But yeah, there's your support item tier list. I think in general, you can get away with building anything in the S and A tier. Obviously, you'll prefer to go these S tier ones if you can, but just these A tier ones are absolutely fine to build as well, in my opinion. Anything below that is either too niche, like Lornos Mask, or like Bloodsock Shroud, or like Alternate Timeline, or it's just bad, like a lot of these other ones down here. But yeah, that'll be it for the full item tier list. We've done the regular items, we've done the starter items. Hopefully this was useful to you guys in terms of figuring out what you want to build in 11.7. Obviously, the meta has been cracked wide open by the new items and a lot of buffs and nerfs and stuff like that. So I thought it was about time I updated an item tier list and bring this to you guys. Yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree on what I think are the best items in the game? Let me know, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.